The culture of agriculture has, I think, strayed far away from what it originally started as. Really, we need to change our mindset, and it doesn't mean going back to just after the Stone Age, but it does mean paying attention to our greatest resource. For instance, our greatest energy resource is the sun. The place where it's wasted the most, I think, is in agriculture. And it is our belief and what we're seeing that when you do restore health to an ecosystem, you increase its productivity, you increase its resiliency, you increase its ability to produce higher quality. By focusing on restoring ecosystem health, you're actually addressing the basis of profitability. And so learning how to do that often means being really humble and standing back and saying, how is nature functioning, and what am I trying to force on this ecosystem that is just making things worse. We are ingrained in an agricultural system really regardless of whether you're conventional or organic, that relies heavily on equipment, fossil fuels, outside inputs. In this climate, in this area, where we are growing the vineyard historically was basically kind of brushland, and it had been degraded to just annual grassland. It's dry, but it's cool. And that's, I attribute to the ground cover. I'm surprised at how easy it is to put a shovel in here. This is classified as Diablo clay. And in general, if we were out on the rangeland or someplace, your shovel would just bounce off of it. So many of the questions that we have go back to, what does nature do? What is happening in a healthy ecosystem? And how do we mimic that and get that in place in our farming systems in a way that is profitable and productive, which is through animals that cycle those nutrients. Number of benefits. Obviously, you're cycling nutrients, so you're increasing the fertility of the site. You also are eliminating the need or reducing the need for mowing. The sheep's saliva coming in contact with the grapevine itself, which can impart disease and pest resistance and also help stimulate the vine. And then there is the economic benefit. So we have the meat sheep as well as the wine grapes, and it didn't require us to sacrifice for either of those. In fact, they're both benefiting each other. So we've increased the amount of crops that we are growing and our profitability. One of the problems is that you can't graze in here when you have vines like this, because the sheep will come in and just devour this. This is just like candy for them. We've developed several different angles or approaches to that. One is using an electrified offset. That was the first system that I worked on, and that prevents them from grazing anything above that zone. And the system we're working on now is actually a design specifically so that we can graze animals in the vineyard throughout the year that doesn't require the electrified offset system. And that means primarily raising the vines higher up. The critical point is getting the vine from being a tiny little vine up to here. And once you're up to here and have the diameter of your stalk is big enough that it can stay there, then we can have the sheep in there. So it usually takes about 2 years. Then we'll cut it right here, and next year it'll get arms. And so this is what we're after. I would encourage anybody who is interested in this to look into it deeper, because I think there's incredible opportunities here. There's incredible opportunities for ease of farming, and there's a learning curve for sure. And so don't jump into it, especially if you don't have any experience with livestock. Go into it small, like really small. And ideally work with somebody who understands livestock. It can be a lot more productive without being productive at the expense of reducing ecosystem health. It adds a whole new dimension to management of both crops and livestock, to have an understanding of how those systems work and how they work synergistically with each other. It's really an exciting time to be involved in that and all of the learning that's occurring, because it is a really exciting journey.